Good to go. All right. 6:07. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm Matt Pianca. I am the chairman of the zoning board. I'm here with Ms. Anna Bianco and Mr. Claude Phipps. We also have Mr. Jeffrey Knight from the zoning administrator and from the city law bureau, Ms. Barron. I'm going to note the presence of the court reporter. The court reporter is here because the zoning hearing board is more formal than the planning commission. The court reporter is making a transcript in the event of an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. The zoning hearing board is like a court of law. The zoning hearing board's decision must be based on facts and law and not the popularity or unpopularity of the project or what seems to the board to be a good or bad project. In other words, the applicant must meet a legal burden of proof that proves the elements of a variance or special exception. The law is the city's zoning code and the Pennsylvania municipality's planning code. Anyone in the audience and who resides or owns property close to the subject property and has something legally relevant to say will have an opportunity to speak. Audience members must speak one at a time and must not interrupt the testimony that is being transcribed by the court reporter. I don't think we have any cases to continue. Okay.
No, and Mr. Chairman, if I could just say one thing, we have two applications, 2552 and 2553.
Right.
And the one for 2552 in the letters to the neighbors, I think switched up the times of the meetings. I think notified the planning commission was at 6 and the zoning hearing board meeting was at 6:30. What I would suggest, since that was the time listed, that maybe we just do the first one, take them just out of order, because it'll be
Gotcha.
second and then it'll be close to 6:30. And then there's really nobody can say anything about any issue about time, the notice.
Understood. So we can do that. That's not a problem. So then I'm going to call the first case, which will be 2553, the variance and special exception for 1104 North Second Street. And will the solicitor please read into the record the documents that are in the city's file?
Sure. B1 is the application and the narrative. B2 is an aerial map of the property. B3 is the photos of existing conditions of the property. B4, existing floor plans. B5, proposed floor plans. B6, letters to required neighbors. B7, notice posted on the property. B8 is the letter May 11, 2023 from Mr. Knight to the applicant advising of the hearing date. B9 is the proof of publication in the Patriot News on April 30, 2023 and May 7, 2023. B10 is the deed to the applicant. B11 is the Planning Bureau case report, and B12 is the resolution of the Harrisburg Planning Commission. So, Mr. Chairman, it's exhibits B1 through B12.
All right, thank you. I'm now going to swear in the zoning administrator. Jeff, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please briefly summarize the case, the issues, and what the city's position is on the case?
Sure. So the case before you for 2553 is related to a project at 1104 North Second Street, proposing a conversion of the property to 2 units. This property is almost at the threshold by which a single family unit could be converted to multiple units by right. It's only 34 feet short. And so the proposal requires 2 special exceptions, one for a proposed multifamily dwelling use in the RM district, and then one for relief from the off-street parking required by the additional unit. So it'd be 1 unit, and then variances for both relief from the specific criteria of the zoning code as noted, for the requirement for 2,500 square feet within the structure, and then for the density regulations and section 7-307.3 of the zoning code. So this proposal is similar to many of the others that the board has seen over the last few years, except in this case, the applicant is only proposing 2 units. In many other cases, the board has seen proposals for 3 or more units. And again, being that the Building itself is right about at that threshold. The Planning Bureau feels that the request is essentially de minimis. And it represents the minimum zoning relief necessary to enable the project to proceed as proposed. So with that being said, the Planning Commission recommends that the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. The variance being requested from the specific criteria represents the minimum necessary to afford relief, given the interior square footage of the building. Only a minor deviation from the zoning code is being requested. Overall, the proposed deviation from the zoning code, the addition of a single unit beyond what would be permitted by right, represents the minimum relief. The proposal would not be out of character with the surrounding neighborhood, as several of the other single-family structures on the block have been converted to multi-unit, multi-family dwellings. And the applicant has made significant investments into the property based on documentation provided by the city. Although this information was provided in error and has complied with requirements to submit the requisite zoning relief applications, ensuring that the property receives the requisite reviews and approvals for the conversion.
Thank you. The applicant, please state your name, residential address, and business title, and then I'll swear you in.
Hi, Stephen Toole. I reside at 5005 Pellingham Circle in Enola, Pennsylvania, 17025. I'm the owner of the property.
All right, if you could please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, please tell us about this project.
Sure. This is a part of town that I have made a significant financial interest and investment in. I own 1100, 1102, 1104, and 1106 North Front Street. Plan there is to stabilize the 1100 block, just as WCI had done to 1200 block. Right now, I am mid-process, so well into the construction phase of rehabilitating, in my mind, an existing two-unit building. The layout, I'm not even changing like the units, I'm changing some walls in between. We're not creating more units. The building was set up that way. Why it's zone 2 units or 1 unit, I can't speak to that. I know that I bought it as it was being sold as a 2-unit. I have a city zoning certificate showing that was obtained by the seller. I have a building permit that I relied upon to take out a significant loan to renovate both 1102 and 1104 at the same time. So with that, that's where we're at today. I understand that due to a technicality, as explained to the city, to me, that I need to go through this process. However, I know that I'm at the mercy of the board. So any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer.
I can always ask questions. Good evening.
Hi.
You said you have 1100, 1102, and 1104, and these are at 1102, 1104 is adjacent. And you said you plan on taking the wall out of 1102 or internal 1104?
Okay, so 1104 North Second Street. It's set up, there's a lobby, you enter, there's an existing, one door goes to the first floor, second floor, goes up to the second and third floors. Those were locked doors when I bought it. They have separate kitchens, separate baths. So I'm leaving that as is. I'm just within each unit, changing the configurations around just to have like a more modern layout. But I'm keeping this existing footprint of what I saw in this existing building.
And this is going to be to you, Jeff. And it's only 20, they're only 20 feet outside the standard.
Well, the 34 feet short of being the specific criteria, which is 2,500 square.
You said right, demeritus, yes.
So this was a 2-unit, it just wasn't on the record as a 2-unit?
So I did a bunch of research into this issue, and all of the city's records up until the transfer of the property indicate that it was a single unit. looked into the county's records. It had been basically owner occupied by a couple from as early as the county's records go back to till the date of transfer. And it seems what happened is, and this is not uncommon, is that I guess the seller's agent had submitted what's called a buyer's notice when the property is being transferred. And on that, they had indicated it's 2 units. And so that had been transcribed into the city's records at that point. The zoning certificate he referenced was actually filled out by the codes administrator and not by myself. And this actually precipitated coordination between myself and the codes bureau to help address this so that it doesn't happen in the future. But it looks like it was just incorrectly transcribed based on this buyer's notification they got, and it was done by the former deputy director or the former director, so not even the current director. And so I think that's what the applicant was operating under that. But you know, I didn't want to just have this let go, because then anybody could just submit either intentionally or unintentionally incorrect information and you know, do an end around the zoning code.
Sure.
So we're just looking to basically clean up that situation, which had this been brought to my attention in late 2021, we would have been having this conversation.
Right, but are there 2 meters on the house already? Like, it's laid out as a
I
2
have 2
unit,
gas
kind of like what we've been through in the past is what I'm getting at.
Interesting because it wasn't listed.
But that's in the county's records, correct?
Awful list.
Well, when I looked at county's records, I think it said single family. It said like single residence. It said RO3 residence. So everything I was able to find, I don't know about the multi-list server. I'm not on that. And I don't know why maybe that information was presented that way. We do get some miscommunication between ourselves and realtors and prospective property buyers and current property owners and stuff like that. So it's not unheard of. Like I said, I don't know that this was at any point intentional. It was just kind of, there was obviously some confusion at some point.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Not good.
Oh, you're good? Yeah. Do you have any other questions? So were there 2 meters, electric meters on this?
Not 2 electric meters, 2 gas meters, though.
Interesting.
Yeah, like there were internally, there's 2 panels. You know, one for, but they never separated it.
Go ahead.
First of all, as far as with the off-street parking, is that the 2 spaces that would be the relief?
I mean, I guess technically you'd only need it for 1, because if it was operated as a single family, didn't have an off-street parking space and there's no vehicular access to the property, it would just be an existing non-conforming aspect.
And I'm just looking at it in writing, just in really writing, you know, the decision, what it should
Right.
be, whether it be 1 or 2. And then this is for you, Mr. Tool. So for 1104,
Yes.
so you said when you go in on the first floor, it has, you know, everything, right? Kitchen, you know, bedroom, bath, all that. And then there's a door that then goes up to then kind of like another resident unit,
Yeah,
unit.
that has a kitchen.
So that would be the appearance, and that's what I'm just trying to figure, right? That the appearance would be too, when you go in, that's the way. it
Right,
is.
so. Exactly.
All right. That's all.
Is there anyone from the audience here that would like to speak on? While this loads for, as I look up one more thing. It's not going to. All right, then. I'm going to make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth in the planning commission's resolution for approval. Seconded by Mr. Phipps, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody need to use the bathroom? I'm just gonna try and kill like 4 more minutes.
I think. Close
You
enough.
guys,
Yeah,
you close enough?
he can show.
I was gonna ask you about that. I was walking down the street the other day. Are you doing road construction or?
I saw those two.
I thought, well, whoever dropped it. Well, they didn't, and then over the weekend, one of them was here to come forth up. And then today I didn't see that one, but I saw, so when I left my house today, I was only one. And then the other one was further south, one, or still in my neighborhood.
I don't know
where they
the-
came from, because nothing I could do was because they're hot.
Right, I don't know
I
what
mean,
they
they,
are.
they're fit, and you got sometimes so big. So my question was, who are owls?
Exception application for 1855 Regina Street. Just to note, I'll have the solicitor read into the record the documents that are in the city's file.
B1 is the application. B2 is the aerial map. B3, photos of the interior and exterior of the property. B4 is plan with parking pad project narrative. B5, engineers inspection and evaluation report. B6, photos of electrical meters and electrical box. B7 is the deed to the applicant. B8, notice to required neighbors. B9 is the letter dated May 11, 2023 from Mr. Knight to the applicant advising of the date and time of the hearing. B10 is the notice of posting on upon the property. B11, proof of publication in the Patriot News on April 30, 2023 and May 7, 2023. B12, Planning Bureau case report, and B13 is the Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So we have B1 through B13.
All right, thank you. We'll make a note that the zoning administrator is still sworn in from the last case. Jeff, do you want to tell us about this project?
Sure. So this project is somewhat similar to the one we just heard, except that the applicant is proposing to establish a 3-unit multifamily dwelling on site. The property itself is large enough to accommodate 3 units per the density regulations. The building itself meets that 2,500 square foot threshold for the conversion of a single family dwelling into up to 3 units. And so just the special exception is needed for the proposed use. Similar to the last case, this is a situation whereby the property was at one point converted to 3 units, as you know, can be seen in the documentation that was provided by the applicant. Except all of the city's records showed that it had been a single family dwelling. And then again, looking back into the county's records, it was owner occupied by that single family dwelling. There were no things like rental inspections that would have indicated that there were apartments being rented out on the property. Although, you know, there obviously were, if you go back and look through Google Streets View, fire escapes going to the 3rd floor. However, more recently, and I believe this was in 2021, the city's DVHD put CDBG funds towards, I think, some improvements on the roof and things of that nature. And as to be able to qualify for that, it had to be a single family home. So the owners would have had to certify we are a single family home in order to receive those credits. Like they would not have been able to do that as like an apartment building, at least per my discussions with DBHD staff. And so this is one of those situations where all the records show that as a single unit. It's obviously been configured at some point in the past, but in the zoning code, it notes that if a non-conforming use goes to a conforming use, it cannot then go back into a non-conforming use without the required zoning relief request. The only outstanding issue really was the provision of parking on site. As the updated site plan that the applicant has provided showed, there's potentially 2 spots in the garage that's on site, but they're also able to provide 3 spaces just to the east of that, access from Helen Street in the rear, in a manner that's not going to result in the loss of trees on site or exceeding the maximum impervious lot coverage. And of course, the lot's a corner lot, so it has a significant amount of street frontage on it. In the event that there's any sort of like concerns about overflow parking. So with all that being said, the planning commission recommended that the zoning hearing board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant must submit a legible and detailed site plan outlining the provision of parking on site prior to the zoning hearing board meeting. And so they've done that through the site plan that the board has. The applicant will reconstruct sidewalks adjacent to the property to ensure that they're ADA compliant and will receive approval from the city engineer's office confirming the appropriateness of the work. That's a requirement of any property owner to maintain the sidewalks adjacent to their property. And these in particular are in fairly deteriorated condition in some places. The applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection and receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy and leasing any units. And that kind of speaks a little bit towards some of the age of the elements that the applicant has referenced in their structural report, going back to like 1950s, 60s, et cetera. So we want to make sure that the Codes Bureau gets in there and ensure that all that work is up to date. And then finally, the applicant will coordinate with the Department of Public Works to confirm the appropriate size and location of refuse collection on site and update the building accounts to reflect the new use. The planning commission recommended that the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. History and configuration of the property just indicates that it has previously functioned as a 3-unit multifamily dwelling, providing justification for approval of the current proposal. The proposal would not be out of character with the surrounding neighborhood as other single-family row home and duplex structures been converted to 2- and 3-unit multifamily dwellings. The proposal will have a minimal impact on the surrounding on-street parking as the property is able to provide sufficient off-street parking on site and is a corner lot, establishing on-street frontage that can accommodate approximately 7 vehicles parked on the street. Finally, the subject property is in a blighted condition. The proposed project would represent an investment that will bring the structure up to code and ensure it is actively occupied.
The applicant could please state your name, residential address, and business title, and I'll swear you in.
My name is, I'm Kyrie Randolph. I'm the owner of the property. I live at 1701 North 4th Street, Harrisburg.
You could please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
All right, tell us about your project here.
Yes, I had bought this property with the understanding that it was a 3-unit. I have I had an engineer come in, and from his understanding, it's 4 meters, and the way the house is structured, it's been built as a 3-unit as well. With this project, I'm trying to provide low-income housing, and it's also ADA. It has a ramp and the handicap parking spot, so it's already laid out for that, and I will comply with the off-street parking. So that will provide 5 spots, or at least 4, because the garage entrance is kind of small, but it is big enough for 2 vehicles. So it is also 3 kitchens and 3 bathrooms. I think it shows it in the pictures, so they just need updated.
Are the conditions that were set forth by the planning commission acceptable?
Yeah, I just had a question about the I think the second to last one.
With respect to the inspection for the Codes Bureau?
It's like,
The Public Works.
what was that? What was that?
So the Department of Public Works, has to maintain, keep their accounts current, to know what to bill. I think there's like commercial accounts if you're an apartment versus a single family home, which is a residential account. So we just make sure that when these conversions occur, that the Department of Public Works is notified so that they can update their billing accounts, and also make sure you have the correct refuse containers on site. A 3-unit, they're probably just going to give you the individual kind of toters, but if it were like 5 or 6, they might do it dumpsters.
Alright, and so the sort of ADA compliant.
With the sidewalks, yeah.
So is that this one and this?
Yeah, it would be all the sidewalks that are on the property that they're, per the city regulations, they're the responsibility of the property owner to make sure that they're in a compliant fashion.
And that's my personal responsibility. And
Yeah, that would be your responsibility as a property owner.
Okay.
Start with you. If you have a question. Claude?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I'm gonna go back what you said, ADA compliance. I see the ramp for ADA compliance.
Yes, sir.
For exit and entry into the building. The sidewalks ADA compliant?
Well, more to the point, I mean, that's a general, like making sure they're appropriate width, but also because it's a corner property, it has ADA curb cuts to cross the street. And so making sure you have like the tactile surface or whatever the city engineer would require as a standard for that.
One of the recommendations was that the sidewalks get replaced or get rebuilt. Okay, you agree to that?
Yeah.
And the garage in the back, the recommendation was it to be torn down, and that would provide you with your 7 parking spots. Are you still gonna keep that garage there, or how do you, I can remember off-street parking and parking requirements, but yeah, if you are you gonna take the garage down? Maybe that's the question to ask.
I'm considering taking it down, but the off-street parking would be on the right. And see, I'm just still deciding on the demolition of that garage. I haven't made a decision yet.
I also see there's fences protruding. That's on Helena Street, correct? That's
Yeah, and also
on Regina.
Yeah,
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you.
He answered all my questions. I don't have.
Yeah, this is. I live around the corner. That's why I'm asking the questions.
Okay.
I've seen you guys before up there.
Oh, yeah.
The three,
Yeah.
let me just, the 3 spaces, is that's on the properties next to the garage? Is that what those 3 off-street?
That's
spaces?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
So
Like you were saying to the right, to the right of the garage, and I think in here it says east of the garage, that's the same location, right?
That's correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got
So it'd be, if you keep the garage, 2 in the garage and 3 next to it, if you tear down the garage, they'd all just be in a line.
Correct, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Doesn't anything.
I mean,
from the city-
ultimately, it'll be up to the applicant. The garage looks like it's in pretty rough shape, so I don't know whether it's easier to just demo it or construct. Yeah.
Your choice.
Yeah, one more question I had. Zoning report, your codes officers, okay, have they looked this building over structurally? I mean, top, bottom, sideways. It's a sound building.
Yeah, it's
You had a
And
structural engineer, but
Yep.
but I'm asking city code to make sure that your structural engineer signed off on it, but is the city signing off on this?
I don't know that they have yet. I think the submission to the Codes Bureau is what precipitated this review.
Okay.
And so they will obviously do it as part of, once approval, if and when approval is granted by the board, they would make sure they did that as part of their normal review of the building permit and any associated condition.
It was a question that came up in planning.
Yeah.
That's what this purpose. Okay,
yeah. I just if I wanted to put the fire escape back over, is there any permits I would need?
There likely will be. I don't know whether the stairwells on the porches on the rear would satisfy their emergency egress requirements or not. That's something you want to work with the Codes Bureau. You can also sprinkler a property and not have the 2 means of egress. That'd probably be a little bit more expensive, honestly, but that's something you could talk to the Codes Bureau about what would be the best process for it.
Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this property? Just please state your name and your address for the court reporter.
How you doing? My name is Carlton Easter. I'm here on behalf of him. I just recently bought a property a block over on the 1900 block of Chestnut Street. I think that it's probably a good contribution to the community, especially with our demographics. He's going to provide affordable housing and give people a second chance that have bad credit or any evictions.
Anyone else? All right. Well, then I'm going to make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth in the planning commission's resolution for approval. Seconded by Ms. Bianca. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. And good luck tomorrow.